Alright, gente, what's cracking? Back to regular scheduled programming. This is part 2 of why I became a Sureno, a Southsider in Northern California. Well, I'll start it off by saying, if you watched Güero from San Jose's interview with Street Pulse exclusive, shout out to Güero and Street Pulse. If you haven't, go check it out. It's a good interview. But if you watched it, like I said, you would see that I'm a generation after Güero, and history repeated itself almost identically. I also didn't think Sur was for Southern California. I thought it was for Mexico. My understanding was the 13 was for the letter M, but not for the prison meaning we all know about, but for the M for Mexico. That's how it was explained to me, at least. I always knew I was a Chicano, although my parents are full-blooded Mexicans. My dad always taught me to be proud of being Mexican-American, not just Mexican. But he also taught me to not hate and to love my Mexican nationals, or quote-unquote paisas. So, growing up, when I would get called a wetback or a paisa by Northerners, the disrespect to me was deeper than just me. It was disrespect for my family and my people. I understand that in other areas, this may not be the case, but like Güero said, in my area where I grew up, a Norteño neighborhood, this in fact was the case. I grew up being discriminated by the group of friends I had because they spoke Inglés mucho, or broken Spanish for the non-Spanish speakers. Because they were soccer players, because the cheap shoes at the time happened to be Converse or Cortezes, and they were the wrong color, or because my school uniform was a white collar shirt with blue pants and a blue or green sweater with Cortezes or Converse. So banging Sur in Northern California for me wasn't a choice. It was forced onto me with hatred that grew inside of me for getting beat up for no reason. I remember getting home crying with my hood on so my dad couldn't see me crying my first time ever getting jumped, and him asking me what's wrong, and I said, I just had a bad day. Put yourself in the shoes of an upstate Sureno and flip the script. If it was you getting beat up and pushed around and disrespected, would you let it happen to you? Or would you click up with the rest of the kids dealing with the same oppression and fight the oppressor? The same way the field workers were getting oppressed in prison is the same way us quote-unquote paisas were being oppressed because we weren't American enough. Now that I'm older, I realize not all Northerners are the same. Not all Northerners hate the raza, but actually do love their heritage, their history, and their race just as much as we do. But what's done is done. And if we were to stop gangbanging now, once we found out the true meaning of what Sur meant and the geography of gangbanging, we would be looked at as weak, which is the reason we fought back, and it would be back to square one. So this is part 2 of the reason I became a Southsider from Northern California. And before I end the video, I just want to say I don't view the Norte as the enemy like I once did. At the end of the day, we're all similar in too many ways to hate each other. I send mines to everybody and anybody that took the time to listen. Much love to my Southsiders, my Northerners, my Bulldogs, my paisas, my everything, you know. Everybody in between, whether you gangbang or not. As long as you're a man of your word, you got my respect. That being said, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And until the next one, al ratos.